Let's take you back right now to Midtown and CBS News national correspondent Lilia Luciano, where she is covering the story about a building that seems like it's unstable. Lilia, what can you tell us?
Well, Mugo, we are standing on the corner of 41st Street and 2nd Avenue. The building is on 42nd Street. It's this one that you can see behind me. As you can see, it's a construction site. It's a building that was commercial. It's being converted to residential. We have been learning more details from a union rep from the iron workers who explained to WCBS, to our colleagues here in New York City, that apparently this building was being, as part of this renovation, they were adding between 6 and 10 stories to it. And it seems that the beams, those iron beams that were holding the building, could not hold these extra floors, that it wasn't reinforced enough, according to this union rep, and that the beams could bend like cigarettes, he said. This is his wording. He said that some of his members were inside the building and reported seeing bent windows, bent beams, and that they evacuated the moment that they started seeing some concrete blocks start falling off, that it was a scary experience for them. He is also saying that this might become a controversy, and of course the Department of Buildings is investigating, but he claims that the union had lost the bid to a non-union company, and that there are concerns that maybe there were some corners cut in the process, that he is worried for the safety of his workers and others who were part of this construction. But certainly this is going to be an investigation that the city will be looking into. And as you can see around me, there's police, there's the fire department. Several of the buildings around here were evacuated. And just to explain it to a little bit more detail, this is approximately a 30-story high, or nearly 30-story high building. The beams that collapsed, that buckled, were on the 21st floor. So you have between 6 and 10 more stories over that could have collapsed, and that is why all of these blocks are being cordoned off to make sure that, and the buildings around it were also evacuated. What's happening behind me is that they're setting up for a press conference, so we're hoping to learn a lot more detail from authorities here in New York City about what led to this, how concerned should people be of walking around this area, could it still collapse, and what is being done to reinforce it and prevent what could be a major catastrophe of a building that high coming down.
Yeah, and Lilia, I know you were saying earlier that some of those people in nearby buildings, they had to be evacuated, but do we have any insight, again, waiting for officials to get us more information, but right now, any insight as to when it became clear that, hey, something's wrong, people need to get out of this building, including those construction workers?
Those construction workers were there early in the morning, and the fire department was called at 8 a.m. That is when they responded and immediately evacuated the construction workers who were working in the building, and also, as a precaution, the people who were nearby. No injuries have been reported from those blocks falling. And right now, what we're waiting to hear is how long it'll take to fix this, how wide the area that needs to be protected will be inaccessible, because as you can see, I mean, this is New York City. The buildings are side by side. There's people who live here, who work here, and all of these blocks are now cordoned off. I've seen some people just going up to police and say, hey, I got to go to work. I need to get home. I'm on 46th Street and they need to cross through here. So, you know, fortunately not catastrophic, but inconvenient at the moment. Fortunately, no injuries. We'll hopefully learn more from officials who are going to gather around here for that presser. Yeah, Mugo?
And you mentioned to Lilia that it seemed like the building was tilted or slanted. Do you still feel like that's the case from your vantage point?
Yeah, from what I see is those top floors, it just kind of looks a little bit slanted, a little bit crooked. It's not so obvious to the naked eye, but according to this union rep who spoke with WCBS earlier, the beams were, what he described was that these beams were bent like cigarettes. I mean, imagine the amount of weight that they were holding if this was not reinforced properly or enough, that there were windows that seemed to be bending. It's hard to tell from here because those, I mean, I'm not sure what it looked like before, but there's a top floor there that doesn't have windows. So it's not, and that is kind of where you can see that tilt, where you can see one outside beam, one structural beam that seems like it's the one that buckled, but we don't have enough information to know whether that is the one. But from what I'm seeing here, it does seem like there's one little beam there in the corner that seems to be kind of off to the side. And the building itself, those top floors just seem a little bit uneven from down here. And of course, we're 30 stories down and across the street. Yeah. But maybe Fred is zooming in there for you to take a closer look, and I'll let our audience decide whether this looks like this is the beam that buckled. We're hoping to hear more from the authorities here, but just from where I stand, not as an expert, it does look a little bit like off to the side.
And Lilia, I know obviously, as you mentioned earlier, we are still waiting to get the official details from investigators and officials out there. But what is the scene like? Earlier when we were talking to you, it seemed really frantic and they were still moving you to other areas. What is the scene like right now? Do you have people standing out there waiting to see what's going on?
Yeah. I'll actually have Fred pan to the side a little bit so you can see the amount of people just here curious, standing around, taking a look, wondering what's happened, asking us reporters. There is a lot of media here. Of course, we are in Midtown Manhattan, where TV stations, networks, we all work around here, so a lot of people got here very quickly. And there's fire trucks. There were a lot more fire trucks lined up here on 2nd Avenue behind where I'm standing. Those have since been moved. The police presence is mostly to keep people from entering the area, but it seems to have calmed down a little bit. I'm seeing the officials now standing in line here and answering some questions from print reporters as they prepare to give more of an official statement. But yeah, it's calmed down in terms of the presence of authorities and of fire crews. So that, I guess, gives us an indication that perhaps this is not an immediate threat, but that they're figuring out or they're handling the situation to keep the building from collapsing.
Yeah, and that is so good to know. Lilia Luciano in Midtown Manhattan for us today. As Lilia said, and as we told you earlier, we are expecting a press conference from officials any moment now. We know officials from the fire department and New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani will be present. We'll bring that news conference to you live as soon as it begins right here on CBS News 24/7. But now let's get to coverage from WCBS in New York.
Let's begin with that breaking news on the east side. 9 buildings, including schools, have now been evacuated on the east side after buckling columns caused major structural damage. Let's go out live to Lisa Rosner. She's on scene with the very latest about what's happening. Lisa.
Well, Jessica, we are on 2nd Avenue, very close to the building in question here. Several blocks are shut down, and I want to show you the building right now. It's been under construction, and a rep from the Steamfitters Union that was inside tells me that they saw cracking windows, bent beams, and concrete falling from the roof.
We're getting reports from the construction that 2 columns buckled on the 21st floor.
Dramatic video and photos from one of the floors inside 235 East 42nd Street shows buckling columns and sagging floors.
They were up working on the floor, and somebody saw that the concrete was coming down, the beams started bending, the windows started busting. So as soon as you see that, they know well enough to get out of there.
The FDNY says the call came in around 8 a.m. for bricks falling from the 38-story building under construction. Upon arrival, units determined 2 columns buckled on the 21st and 22nd floors, and floors were sagging between the 21st and 26th levels.
This building was renovated, and they were going to add another 16 stories to it. But at that point, you need to add more steel. And they obviously didn't add the right amount of steel. So the north side of that building is crumbling. The I-beams are bending like cigarettes in there, which is super dangerous.
He says most of the trades on the job are non-union and blames the developer.
They chose profit over safety and put my members and every construction worker over here in jeopardy.
Our top priority right now is the safety of those who live in this area, the safety of those who work in this area, and DOB inspectors and engineers are on site working quickly to secure the site as well as that surrounding area.
We reached out to the developer Metro Loft for comment, and in a statement, they told us we are working closely with the Department of Buildings to understand the full scope of the situation. The safety of our workers and the public has always been and remains our top priority. Again, at this time, no reports of any injuries. We're live in Midtown. Lisa Rosner, CBS News, New York.
All right, Lisa, thank you. Let's bring in Tim McNicholas now. He's live there on the east side. Tim, 2nd Avenue and 42nd Street. What are you learning about the history of the ongoing work at this building? What can you tell us?
So, Jessica, this is not the first time that city inspectors have responded to reports of things falling from this construction site. About a year ago, in July of 2025, inspectors issued a $5,000 fine to the contractor, that's 235 GC LLC, after the buildings department said a piece of window glass fell from the 8th floor onto a sidewalk shed. About a month later in August, city records show a metal pane fell from the 33rd floor and landed on the sidewalk. The city then issued a $10,000 penalty for that and a temporary stop work order for the entire site. All told, the contractor has racked up 7 violations and tens of thousands of dollars in fines over the last year. All of them are now listed as resolved, and there were no open violations here as of this morning. The most recent violations were in December. That's when inspectors said a worker actually fell about 6 feet from a ladder while dismantling a crane. The city also issued a violation for failure to report that worker's injury to the Department of Buildings within 3 days. Now, we have reached out to that contractor. Again, that's 235 GC LLC, and we are waiting to hear back. And as Lisa mentioned, the developer Metro Loft says they are working with the city to fully determine the scope of this situation, Jessica.
Well, and as you heard from one of the union reps out there, he's accusing the company of choosing profits over safety. I know there are going to be a lot of questions, and we are waiting for the FDNY to give us an update. Tim, thank you. Keep us updated on that. Let's go now to Mike Shinoda. He's a civil engineer at Farmingdale State College. Mike, thank you so much for weighing in. We could use your expertise. Let's start with, how serious is it when engineers hear multiple floors are sagging? And can you paint the picture of what's happening beneath the surface that we can't see?
Oh, sure. Obviously, it's very serious when you have a situation like that. I mean, the building could be imminently collapsing potentially. But the thing is, temporary shoring and support for a building is generally one of the more complex things that happen during construction. But what makes it even more complicated in this situation is, number one, it's changing from a commercial to a residential use, so the loads and where they're moving are changing during the course of this. And you're doing this also at great height. There's a lot of equipment moving around, so it creates a double hazard that makes it really complicated to set this kind of thing up.
So when people hear the words buckled columns, sagging floors, they immediately think of collapse. As you said, that could potentially happen. Put it into perspective for us, though. How is this? How concerning is it? And how will officials determine which surrounding buildings need to be evacuated?
There are usually more, I would call them catastrophic signs, that if the building is in imminent danger of complete collapse. These are certainly extremely concerning signs, but it doesn't seem like the building is in danger of imminent collapse at the moment, but it's something that could loom relatively close. And so for sure, the steps that they've taken, evacuating the building, evacuating nearby buildings, are quite prudent and necessary.
So what is the process for stabilizing this building before construction can resume, before people can return to their buildings?
So you can put temporary members, you can put jacks and things like that. Normally, the typical things that are done for temporary shoring of the building, they'll have to look at it again. It's potentially possible to resume construction with the right type of temporary support put in place, but for sure, the temporary step at the moment of evacuating and investigating is very important.
I know we're not going to hold you to this, but in your expert opinion, what are we looking at for a timeline? Do you think they'll be resuming today? Will people be allowed to go back today? Is it hours? Is it days?
No, I would be surprised at least several days before any kind of work could resume. It needs some deep investigation to make sure that it's safe for work to resume at a few days at the very least.
All right, Mike Shinoda, thank you. We may check back in with you in a bit once we get some more information from fire officials. Thank you so much for your expertise.